Good morning, my dear students. I am Sulochana Singh from SCRT Gurgaon. Today, we will discuss about structure of flower. The flower and its parts are concerned with sexual reproduction in angiosperms. What are angiosperms? Angiosperms are the plants in which seeds are enclosed within the ovary. Morphologically, the flower is considered as a shoot bearing nodes and modified floral leaves. In a vegetative shoot, the internodes are long, but in a flower, the internodes are condensed and the number of appendages arising at a node are more numerous, or we will say the number of organs produced at a node are more in number. Flowers exhibit wide variation in size, shape, color and arrangement of floral parts. That means in flowers there is a lot of variety in size, shape, color and arrangement of floral parts. However, all flowers have the same basic plan. The stalk of the flower is called pedicel. Now you see in my hand, this is a flower and this is the stalk of the flower. Now this stalk of the flower is called pedicel. Now the tip of the pedicel continues as an enlarged axis known as the receptacle or thalamus. All other floral appendages or all other floral organs, that means sepals, petals, androecium and gynoecium, they are all attached to the receptacle. First of all, let us talk about sepals, collectively known as calyx. These are the sepals. They are green in color. They look like leaf. That means they have leaf-like structure that arise or that is produced at the base of the flower, and it forms the outermost circle of appendages. Collectively, all the sepals are known as calyx. This is calyx. Now, what will be the function of the sepals? Sepals, or collectively known as calyx, provide protection to the flower before the opening of the flower. That means before the flower opens, sepals provide protection to the flower. Next, or the second appendages or the second organ is the corolla. The whole of appendages, these colored structures that arise inner to the sepals. Now these appendages, they are produced inner to the sepals. They are known as petals. Collectively, we call them corolla. Petals are generally brightly colored. They have a very bright color and sometimes they produce fragrance. Now, the fragrance and this bright color helps to attract insects which help in the process of pollination. Now, we see in the diagram on the slide, next organ or the next appendage is the androecium. Androecium, the third group of appendages, consists of stamens. Collectively, these are the stamens present on the flowers. Collectively, they are known as androecium. Each stamen may be regarded as a highly modified leaf. It is also known as microsporophyll. It is made up of a slender stalk, the filament, and a bilobed structure at the tip, the anther. The anther usually contains 4 microsporangia which produce a large number of pollen grains. Now, you see in the diagram in the slide, this is the androecium, collectively known as the stamen. The long stalk is known as the filament and a bilobed structure present at its tip is known as the anther. Now we will talk about the fourth appendages or the fourth organ of the flower, that is gynoecium. The center of the flower contains the female reproductive hole called the gynoecium or pistil. Gynoecium or pistil is composed of one or more carpels. Carpels are made up of three parts: stigma, style and ovary. Now we see it in the slide in the diagram. This is the diagram of the ovary of the carpel. This is the ovary. Then there is style and this is the stigma. Ovary is the swollen basal part of the carpel which bears one or many ovules. Ovary extends at the tip into a slender style which in turn terminates into a lobed head called the stigma. Flowers may have only one carpel or they may have several carpels. The carpels may be free or they may be fused. The ovary may be one chambered or ovary may be many chambered. Now let us see how the ovules are arranged inside the ovary. Inside the ovary, the ovules develop from a special tissue called the placenta. The manner, the method, the process in which the placentae are distributed in the ovary is known as placentation. So, placentation is the method, is the manner how the placentae are distributed, how the ovules are developed on a special tissue, placenta. Now, depending on the arrangement of flowers, depending on the number of floral organs, depending on the arrangement of flowers on the thalamus, flowers are classified into three categories: hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous. So, first of all, let us talk about perigynous. In some flowers such as the rose, the thalamus forms a cup-shaped structure around the ovary and bears sepals, petals and stamens. That means sepals, petals and stamens, they are produced in the rose flower around the cup-shaped structure. Flowers of this type are known as perigynous. So, now we are talking about hypogynous. When the ovary is situated on the torus above all the other floral parts, the flower is said to be hypogynous. For example, mustard, tomato. In such a flower, the ovary is said to be superior. Next category is epigynous. Epi means above. When the thalamus is not only cup shaped but is fused with the ovary such that the other floral parts arise on the top of the ovary. That means all other floral parts are produced on the top of the ovary. The flower is said to be epigynous. The ovary in this case is inferior. For example, cucumber and apple. Now we see in the diagram, this is the diagram of perigynous and epigynous flower. Now what is hermaphrodite? Flowers that contain both stamen and pistil are termed hermaphrodite or intersexual. That means such a flower which contain both the sexes, in which both the sexes of the plants are present, are known as hermaphrodite or intersexual. Flowers that bear organs of only one sex. That means either the flower is staminate or the flower is pistillate. That means flower either have male characters or the flower have only female characters. Then such a flower is known as unisexual. The unisexual flowers may be separated in time and space. Now let us see what are monoecious plants. Monoecious and dioecious conditions, they are present in plants. Monoecious are such plants in which flowers of both the sexes are present. For example, cucurbits, maize and castor bean, they produce flower of both the sexes. Now let us see what is dioecious. Very rarely individuals of a species produce exclusively staminate or pistillate flowers. Such plants which produce exclusively staminate or pistillate flowers are known as dioecious and can be compared to mammals in their sex expression. Date palm, mulberry and Coccinea grandis are good examples of dioecious plants. In mango and cashew plants, neuter male and intersexual flowers, they occur together. That means they are present in the same plants. Now let us talk about inflorescence. Flowers, they do not always occur singly. They are not always present singly. They may be present in groups. Mostly, oftenly, they are present in clusters. So, an axis bearing a cluster of flowers or an axis producing a bunch of flowers is known as inflorescence. Inflorescence may be terminal or it may be axillary. That means flower may be present at the tip or it may be present in the axis of a branch. When the flower in an inflorescence are arranged acrobatically, that means the lower or outer flower is the older flower. It is present on the main axis which has unlimited growth. In such a plant, growth is not limited. Such an inflorescence is known as racemose inflorescence. Let us talk about cymose inflorescence. When the main axis is always limited, then the main axis will end in the flower and the subsequent growth of the inflorescence will be carried out by axillary branches. Such an inflorescence is known as cymose. In cymose inflorescence, the terminal flower will be the oldest flower. Now, we will divide racemose inflorescence into 7 types and cymose inflorescence will be divided into 3 types. So, first of all, let us talk about racemose inflorescence. There are special types of inflorescence also. First of all, now see, this is the racemose inflorescence. In racemose inflorescence, first there is raceme. What is raceme? In raceme inflorescence, it produces an elongated axis and which produce stalked flowers. That means flowers present on the axis are along with the stalk. It is present in the mustard. Now we see in the diagram, this is the diagram of the raceme inflorescence. Now next racemose inflorescence is the spike inflorescence. It is just like raceme. That means axis is elongated but the flowers have no stalks. In raceme, the flowers they were having stalks, but here there are no stalks. It is present in Achyranthes. We can see it in the slide in the diagram. This is the diagram of spike. Now next is the catkin inflorescence. In catkin inflorescence, this is the spike with unisexual flowers. That means spike which produce flowers of only one sex. It is present in mulberry plant. Next inflorescence is the spadix. In spadix, spike with fleshy axis, that means which has stored food. It is enclosed by or it is surrounded by one or more large brackets. It is present in banana and colocasia. Next inflorescence is about corium. In corium, the axis is short and the lower flowers have longer stalks than the upper ones. That means the upper flowers have short stalk and the lower flowers they have longer stalks. As a result of which all flowers will come to the same level. It is present in candy tuft. We can see it in the diagram in the slide. This is the inflorescence of corium. All the flowers they have come at the same height. Now next is the inflorescence of umbel. What is umbel? In umbel, the axis is short and bears a cluster of flowers, or we will say it produces a bunch of flowers with stalks of equal length arising from a common point. That means flowers with stalks of equal length are produced from a common point. That means all the flowers in umbel they are arising, they are produced from a common point, from the same point. The umbel is generally branched. It is present, it is seen in the plants of carrot and coriander. Now we see it in the diagram. This is the slide. This is the diagram of the umbel in which all the flowers of the same height with the stalk of the same height are produced from the same point. They are originated from the same point. Now we see cymose inflorescence. What is cymose inflorescence? Let us talk about cymose inflorescence. Cymose inflorescence is divided into three categories: monochagial cyme, dichagial cyme and polychagial cyme. First of all, let us see what is monochagial cyme. In monochagial cyme, the main axis terminates in a flower and one lateral branch axis develops from the base, which will also end in a flower, and the pattern will be repeated again and again. For example, it is present in begonia and cotton. Next category of the cymose inflorescence is dichagial cyme. In dichagial cyme, two lateral branches develop on either side of the terminal flower of the main axis, and these lateral branches will also end in the flower and again branch similarly. So, the pattern will be repeated in the same way. This is present in jasmine and dianthus. This is the diagram of dichagial cyme. This is the main axis which is ending in the flower. Now, these two branches which are produced laterally on either side of the main axis, and these two branches again will terminate in the flower, and again two lateral branches on either side of the axis will be produced. In the same way, the pattern will be repeated. Now, let us talk about polychagial cyme. Poly means many. That means more than two lateral branches will arise, will be produced from the base of the terminal flower. It is present in Calotropis. That means Calotropis is the example of polychagial cyme. Now, we will discuss some special types of inflorescence. Let us see what is capitulum. In capitulum, the main axis is a flattened, more or less convex structure, and on this convex structure stalkless flowers are arranged in a centripetal order, which are known as florets. The inflorescence is surrounded by prominent brackets. It is present in sunflower and marigold. The next special type of inflorescence is hypanthodium. What is hypanthodium? In hypanthodium, the main axis forms a cup-shaped receptacle and it produces a small opening at the top, and in that small opening present at the top, flowers are enclosed within that cup in cymose pattern. It is present in ficus. Next special type of inflorescence is cythium. What is cythium? In cythium, the involucre forms the cup. Single female flowers without perianth. Single female flower will be produced in the middle and it will be surrounded by a large number of male flowers, and the male flowers are represented by stalked stamens. That means stamens are present along with the stalk. It is present in poinsettia and euphorbia. The next special type of inflorescence is verticillaster. In verticillaster, this inflorescence, it is present in those plants which contain plants with the opposite leaves. So, a cyme will arise or a cyme will be produced in each leaf axil. The first axis ends in the flower and then two branches they will be produced below it. Two branches which are produced below it, they will be produced in an alternating manner. Flowers in the verticillaster inflorescence are sessile. Sessile means they are without stalk and appear as a cluster. That means they are present in the group around the node. Ocimum is the example of verticillaster inflorescence. Now we see in the slide, this is the verticillaster inflorescence. Now let us see what are the functions of a flower. What may be the main function of the flower? Till now we have discussed a lot about the structure of flower, and to some extent we have been able to understand, we have been able to grasp what may be the function of the flower. First of all, it may be the production of pollen and egg. Production of pollen and egg, that means production of male gamete and female gamete will result in the fertilization. So, union of male and female gamete is known as fertilization, which will help to produce offsprings, which will help in the propagation of the species of the plant. So, production of pollen and egg is the first function of the flower. The second function is pollination. The next function is fertilization. We have just now talked about fertilization. Union of male and female gamete, union of pollen and egg that will produce the plant is known as fertilization. In plants, sometimes there is double fertilization also. So, what is double fertilization? This is the question for you students. Next function of flower is development of seeds and fruits. How the seeds and fruits will be produced? After fertilizations, in angiospermic plants, seeds are enclosed within the ovary. Seeds are enclosed within the fruit, which will be used in the propagation of the species. And in gymnosperms plants, what are gymnosperms plants? Plants in which seeds are naked, that means seeds are not covered within the ovary. Such plants are known as gymnosperm plants. The next function of flower is dispersal of seeds and fruits. Seeds and fruits, after they are mature, they will be dispersed from one place to another place, which will help in the perpetuation of the species. Now, you must be able to grasp a very simple topic. What was the structure of flower? What were the function of flower? Now, we will do some homework. We will give you very simple question. Whatever we have studied in this topic, whatever we have covered today, we will talk about that in brief. So, first of all, our question is, what are the functions of sepals, petals, androecium and gynoecium? What is placentation? The placentation is the manner, is the method, is the way in which the placentae are distributed in the ovary. Now, how we will divide the flowers into different three categories: hypogynous, epigynous and perigynous. What is hermaphrodite? Flowers that contain both stamen and pistil are termed hermaphrodite or intersexual. What is dioecious? Plants in which staminate or pistillate flowers are present are known as dioecious condition. What is inflorescence? When flowers do not occur singly, when the flowers are present in group or the flowers are present in clusters, so then an axis bearing or producing a bunch of flower is known as inflorescence. Then we divided inflorescence into two main categories: racemose inflorescence and cymose inflorescence. Then there were special types of inflorescence. What are those special types of inflorescence? That is head or capitulum. Next, hypanthodium, verticillaster, Scythium. So, this was all about today's lecture. Thank you.